This demo shows how the Active Wizard can be used to route and approve corporate forms. This screen you're seeing here is just a very simple example of a forms library. This could be a corporate portal or any other type of website. Here we have links to different forms, and I'm going to click to create a profile update form. We're taken to the wizard in streamline mode, where we do not need to log in and we don't see the save and exit buttons. Here we have a cascading query to pick our email address and name of the submitter, and we can put in another email, or we can choose our email address from Documentum. So here we're entering the data that's changing on our profile. So the administrator has set up that this form does not have to have all questions filled out, so we can only change the things that need changing. When we get to the summary page, we see an email action has been set up to email this form to the person filling out the form. So we've tied that email address question to the email action. In this way, the user that's submitting the form always has a copy of it. Here we're seeing the workflow rules, and when we click continue, we get a confirmation page where we can print out this form. At this point, the workflow has been kicked off. So we're going to go back to the forms library and create a different form, the write-off request. This form is a little bit more complex, but in exactly the same way, the first page is asking me who I am, so we know who is submitting the form. So here we're just entering information about the write-off. And then we're going to choose the division, and this has an impact on the approval, which we'll see in a minute. Notice that we pick operations, and an operations page was added at the end of the question flow. Typically, a leading action leads to the new page right away, but it can be configured to lead at the end. So here we're entering the data about the write-off. And this is actually a repeating page, so we can choose yes, we would like to add another, and we get another page that looks exactly the same. I'm just going to go back here and say no for add another to continue on. So once we click continue here, we're taken to the operations page. This page gives us an in-page reference document that lets us know how the approval, or who should be the approver as we're doing our search and choosing the user. If I go back and select the admin group, now I get a different reference document where I can choose the appropriate approver. So as I type here, the approver select box is then populated, where then I can pick my approver. Again, this form is going to be emailed to this user's email address to make sure they have a copy of their form as it's submitted. So again, once I click the Done button, I see a little bit different of an approval route with 2 steps. So again, once I click Continue, the form is submitted and the workflow is started behind the scenes. So now we're going to go into the Active Wizard as the approvers to approve these forms. So the approvers actually do log into the Active Wizard and would go to their inbox. can of course do this through WebTop if that is needed. So here we're going to go ahead and approve the write-off request as that first approver, and all of the typical workflow actions are available, such as approve, reject, and delegate. So we're just going to go ahead and approve this. This was the user that was directly selected in the form. The next approval was done as a group, so we can log in as any user in that group to approve or reject. So we're going to go ahead and do that and log in as one of the users in that group. So we can go ahead and approve the write-off request. And since this is a group approval, we first have to acquire the task. We can see the audit of Aaron's approval, and then we can acquire the task and pull it out of the group inbox and acquire it into our own. So now we can go ahead and enter our approval information and approve the form. Now we're going to log in as another approver in the approver group to approve the profile update form. This works very similarly. You go in and click on the profile update task. We can see the changes, and since it's a group route, we would acquire the task and pull it into our inbox before completing. So now presumably this user would go into the corporate directory and make those changes and then approve this form. So as I mentioned before, these forms were emailed to the person submitting the forms. This email is shown here where we can see that the forms were sent. We see the PDF attachment, and we can see the form type and the form name in the email. Not only does this ensure that the user has a copy of the PDF, but also gives them a reminder as to the ID of the form. Here the user can log into HPI to search for forms. The user can search on a number of different attributes, including the form name, initiator name, operating company, and the form status. There's also full text search to be able to search on the data in the form. We can narrow the search down based on the form type. Here we're going to go ahead and just search for approved forms that were approved today. Here we can now see the forms that we just approved. So we see the profile update and the write-off request. Clicking the little eye icon gives us the form properties. And we can also click on the link to launch the form itself. User also has the ability to export search results and also configure which fields appear in the results table. Clicking the export search results exports the result table to Excel so that the user can perform any other reporting or data metrics that they need. Typically, corporate forms are done either in a mainframe system or sometimes by using Outlook forms. By using the ActiveWizard in HPI, administrators can better track what forms are being submitted as well as approved and rejected.